If I could, I'd take pain by the throat, chucking it into the never-ending void, one so dark even the sound of its screams would become muted, until only silence remained. With this pen I'd write it away, a lazy scrawl with my hand on this paper that has seen better days, and poof, it would be gone. But the unfortunate truth is that life is filled with pain, misery, and cruelty. There is no escape, only a temporary relief in the lies we tell ourselves and in our dreams. And maybe, if we are lucky, that seemingly never-ending pain will disappear just like the memory of our dreams. It's everywhere, if you know where to look. It's in the eyes of a kid who sat there helplessly afraid as his mother was beaten by yet another man, in the dog across the street, chained to a fence in the cold and in the rain, in the girl who's covered in scars from the cuts she made, who starves herself only to feel in control of her life that is spiraling out of control. It's in the businessman who dreamed to be a dancer only to have his dreams crushed by a cubicle and cancer. It's in that little girl who you insist on calling him, and in that boy you keep fucking calling her. It's in the queer, the trans, the old, the young, the brave and in the weak, the lonely, in the kids you bullied, in the broken, and in the ones with the largest grins, too ashamed to show it, the hurt within. It's in the voice of a mother who's lost her children to a collision between a car and a brick wall. It's in that brilliant kid with great friends and great grades who fears people finding out that he's gay. It's in the people who try so hard to be tough, only to cry themselves to sleep all alone, in secret. So many people appearing so little in such a big place, feeling overlooked, unheard, and forgotten. Nothing more than a number and a statistic to some guy in a suit looking for a raise. They all know pain, everyone does, perhaps not like you or I, but still valid. They felt their skin burn as their salty tears streamed down their faces, felt the sharp twist and cut of some metaphorical blade representing another loss, another betrayal, which only brings more pain. They aren't a tool for others to use to fulfill some people's greedy purpose. And just like them, there's a kid dressed in black, sitting in the back of the class, dreaming up stories in his head, a ghost to most, and bullied by others for his differences, just another kid who'd be forgotten in a year. Hated by those who brought him to earth, by those who pretend to care, by those who make promises never to be kept, and from strangers and so-called friends who walk past him in hallways and in streets. Despite this, there he was, still dragging himself out of bed, still coming to class he hated, still dealing with his dirtbag father, still breathing, still alive, despite his hatred for a world so cruel. To his father, he's still a girl, a fucking piece of shit, who should be grateful to her father for all he did. But he escaped for a while, into his world of words and art, where they spiraled in his mind, forming staircase after staircase, leading somewhere better than his physical reality, to a place where he could finally be safe in himself, a prodigy in the art of escaping his own reality. He woke up day after day, the wounds from their words, and a little less hope. But he knew that the place he was in wouldn't last forever. It was temporary, that someday he would leave and could finally take a deep breath and stop pretending that everything was fine, that there was nothing wrong. Maybe he'd find it in death, but now he decided to search for it in life. He promised that he'd leave the town that brought him nothing but loneliness and pain. He'd see the world, speak his mind through paper and pen. He'd tell them all with his pen, and maybe, if he got the words right, just right, he'd make them understand the harm they cause. Maybe his words would make a difference, do some good. If not for them, then maybe for you. To the person who feels like their world is spinning out of control, who can hardly breathe, on the verge of ending a life far too early, know you are worthy and beautiful because you see he understands what you are going through. He's felt it in his bones and soul too. Fast forward a few years as he takes steps up the stairs to the stars, up to the top. What he found may not have been what he expected. It may not have been fantastic or perfect, but it was good and real, and he could finally breathe, his world no longer spinning out of control. He could appreciate the view, sitting on that ledge that had seen so many, just like him, just like you. Instead of jumping, he pulls out his book. Inside is his pen. Scrawled underneath was a note that said, "My only outlet, Let us create wonders together, and when that he lived,